In today's video, I'm going to be discussing 5 events or stories that may or may not be true, and I'm going to give you guys a moment at the end of each one to work out whether you think that it's true or not. Now, some of these you may have heard of, you may have recalled something, and you might even know the twist to some of these stories of these events. But let's test your mind today and see if you have heard of these particular urban legends. Then I'm going to draw something that combines all of these urban legends into one, and it's basically the image that I got generated in my brain when I read all these stories. So what I do is when I go through the stories and everything, I get visions and I get flashes in my brain of drawing certain things. So what I do is as I'm going through, I'll jot down or I'll sketch down certain things, and then I will combine that into an illustration. Or whether these events are true or not, they're pretty kind of chilling. Like when you hear the story, regardless of which way it goes, it will terrify you. They are very terrifying urban legends. Hello and welcome back, or welcome to my channel. If you don't know what's going on here, I'm a horror artist and I like to draw what I talk about in the videos. Now I like scary facts, true crimes, conspiracies, aliens, anything like that, paranormal, and I like to draw, so I combined all of that to hopefully bring you a unique experience. Now this episode is backed by popular demand because you guys actually enjoyed the first one that I did, so I decided to do the next one, and I'll keep going as long as I can find urban legends to talk about and dig into them to see whether or not they come from a place of truth or if they're just complete made up bullshit. Now if you like any of the illustrations in the videos that I do have a Redbubble store where you can purchase the prints, so I've just got a link down in the description below. And if you are a creative person and you like horror type genre and you want to create some horror toys out of felt, I have some felt toy patterns on my Etsy store, so just head across there. I'm getting up there, I'm adding more every day. The latest one I've just done is The Crow, Eric Draven. He was a fun one to do. I've been meaning to do him for a lot of years and I've only just gotten around to doing him now. So yeah, head across there if you like making things yourself. So you can just copy one of my step-by-step patterns and create your own horror felt toy. With that being said, let's get on with the video and let's get on with the drawing. You may have heard of the Candyman before, and if you haven't, you probably have been living under a rock, but this is a horror movie that was released in 1992. The movie was taken from a short story written by Clive Barker called The Forbidden, which is only 37 pages long and is also combining a few other urban legends from history, which includes the razor blade in the candy and the castrated boy, which originated from ancient Rome. The plot of the Candyman movie is a young woman named Helen Lyle who starts researching urban legends and lands on the Candyman, a spirit that will come into your home via a mirror if you say his name 5 times in front of it. The Candyman is a black man who was murdered in the 1890s for dating a white wealthy woman and now kills innocents as a spirit to fulfill him, so to speak. Now, do you think that this urban legend is real or fake? Now, if you guessed real, you would be right, but let's take away the supernatural side of it all. In 1987, a woman named Ruth McCoy lived in Chicago in a housing project. She would go to her cabinet in the bathroom, which had a mirror on it, and she would hear voices. She would talk to those voices and thought she was tapping into something paranormal in her mirror in the bathroom. Once you removed the cabinet, there was actually a hole in the wall that went in between the walls. One night, someone came through her bathroom cabinet and killed her with a gun. The reason why this happened was the building was built with walkways between the walls so plumbers could check the water pipes for leaks easily. But criminals were using this to gain access to the building to commit robberies. They would take the cabinet off the bathroom wall to gain access to people's units to rob and kill them. So now you know a part of the origin of the Candyman movie and legend. The Bunnyman is an urban legend that stems from Fairfax County, Virginia, US in the 1970s. It involves a man wearing a bunny suit that would start off by gutting rabbits and hanging them from under a bridge and then he moved on to gutting teens and hanging them the same way. These gruesome slaughters happened around the Colchester overpass and is named the Bunnyman Bridge. The Bunnyman was a mental patient in an asylum not far from that bridge, but the asylum shut down and the patients had to be relocated to Lawton Prison via bus, but the bus crashed on the way to the prison. They were able to locate all the patients except for one, Douglas Griffin. Weeks after his disappearance, rabbit carcasses started appearing half-eaten due to Douglas probably trying to survive. Then one Halloween night, a group of teens were hanging around the bridge and next minute they saw a bright light, a flash, and then apparently they were all gutted and hanging from under the bridge. Of course, Douglas was blamed for it. Even to this day, you are warned not to go anywhere near that bridge, especially on Halloween, because the Bunnyman will gut you and hang you from under the bridge. Now, do you think that this urban legend is real or fake? If you guessed fake, you would be wrong. It's actually real, but here is the real story. The story came from a real event of a madman that would walk around the area dressed in a white suit and wore bunny ears on his head. This psycho would go around yelling at people, telling them that they were on private property and would throw hatchets at people to get them to get away from him. One couple experienced this idiot one night who threw a hatchet at them while they sat in their car and he shattered their windscreen. He would also go around to random people's places and hack at their porch railings with the hatchet. He didn't kill anyone though, but he was a massive menace and police could not find him to arrest him after each incident. On the 5th of February 1923, residents in a village that lived in the Brazilian jungle decided to check on their neighbouring village called Hoer Verde, as their shipment of items to trade that day did not arrive. When they arrived at Hoer Verde, they found the whole village of 600 people had just completely vanished. The visitors went from door to door to only find the homes intact and all belongings still in the homes, but absolutely no people. There was no sign of a struggle either, no blood and no destruction of anything. The visitors did, however, find a single gun and a cryptic message written on a blackboard in a classroom that said, "There is no salvation." Where did 600 people go overnight? And why did they leave their belongings behind? The visitors walked to the authorities to inform them of what they saw in Hoer Verde, and they went there to investigate, but nothing could ever be explained. Now, do you think that this story is real or fake? Now, if you guessed fake, you would be correct. Hoer Verde doesn't exist in Brazil. Our Verde, Rio Verde, Cabo Verde, Costa Verde and Vila Verde do though, but not Hoer. Even though the Amazon jungle is vast and some parts are unknown, the Brazilians who have heard of the urban legend Hoer Verde say there is nothing but myth to it. Also, the word Hoer is not Portuguese, it's actually Dutch and apparently means whore, as in prostitute. Verde means green in English, so it's weird that a place would be called Hoer Green or Green Hoer. This in itself is a telltale sign of a non-legit story. There is also no documentation of a village called Hoer Verde in any census records, and there is no mention of a mass disappearance of 600 people in any articles of newspapers. This was obviously one story that was created by someone with a wild imagination. In 1920, Charlie McCarthy was a famous ventriloquist, but not famous for anything positive. You would think that a ventriloquist with his doll would be pleasant and amusing to watch, but Charlie's doll was anything but. Edgar was the name of Charlie's doll, and he was just unsightly. He looked like an 8-year-old boy, chubby facial features, and a chilling look of both sadness and darkness. Charlie was also known for his ability to change his voice tones significantly without moving his mouth very much, if at all. This is what got the attention of his audience, and the rumour mill started with people speculating that Charlie was involved in witchcraft and was casting spells and making his doll Edgar possessed with spirits to fuel the doll, so children were banned from his performances. But the dark reality of it was that Charlie had an unnatural fascination with the doll, and some people even caught Charlie having full-on conversations with the doll that were not part of his routine or practice, and no one was allowed near Edgar at all, even when he was in his box. This all came to an end one night when Charlie was touring the US. After one show, Charlie locked himself in his dressing room for hours. The theatre workers noticed and knocked on his door to let him know that the theatre was closing, but Charlie did not reply. The workers called the police and they broke into the dressing room. They found Charlie on the floor, dead with a badly broken neck and blood everywhere. Edgar was tucked in his box, but the police were startled at the weird face and gaze on the doll that the doll was giving, and this sent chills down the police officers' spines, but they needed to grab the doll for examination as his owner was dead now. On close examination of the doll, Edgar wasn't a doll at all, but the corpse of a real 8-year-old boy. The face was covered in a latex mask, and the police were baffled at how Charlie kept the corpse from decomposing. A theory was that the boy was Charlie's son, and he died, so he turned him into a doll so he could have him around all the time, but the identity of the boy was never discovered. It appeared that supernatural forces killed Charlie and may have been the ghost of the 8-year-old boy that was Edgar. Now, do you think that this story is real or fake? Now, if you guessed fake, then you would be correct, but it does come from a real-life ventriloquist and his doll, but whoever bent this story around had a great imagination. This story came about somehow from an American ventriloquist named Edgar John Bergen, and his dummy was named Charlie McCarthy, so the characters in the myth were just flipped around. Now, Edgar created the Charlie McCarthy show on radio that ran for 20 years from 1937. He did love that doll, and it was his main doll, but he also had other characters such as Mortimer Snerd and Effie Clinker. Edgar actually died in 1978 at the Caesars Palace in Las Vegas before a scheduled performance from kidney failure. Fun fact, he is actually the father of Candice Bergen, and he apparently left nothing to her when he died. He left it all to the dummy. Candice even resented the dummy at one stage. In western Pennsylvania, there is an urban legend of the Pittsburgh Green Man. He is also called Charlie No Face. It's said that this man is horribly deformed and can only be seen at night lurking on the side of the road. But this man isn't a real man. He once was, but he is now a ghost. The ghost can be seen blowing green smoke from his cigarette out the many holes in his cheeks, and his skin actually glows green. Charlie No Face was apparently a factory worker and was accidentally splashed with acid on his face. Not long after, he died from his injuries. Now he haunts the roadside glowing green because the road is near an abandoned railroad tunnel in Greater Pittsburgh where he went to die after the incident. Now, do you think that this is real or fake? Now, if you guessed real, you would be correct, but here is the real story. There was a man that used to roam a road in western Pennsylvania, and his name was Raymond Robinson. When Raymond was 8 years old, he was injured by electrical lines after climbing a pole to reach a bird's nest on the Morado Bridge outside Beaver Falls. After being electrocuted with 11,000 volts, he surprisingly survived, but he lost his eyes, his nose, which was just a gaping hole in his face, his right arm, and his face looked like it was melting. When he became an adult, he would stay home during the day and make things such as doormats, wallets, and belts. Because of his shocking appearance, and his family shielded him from the public because it would cause alarm amongst the public. At night, Raymond would take long walks along a quiet stretch of State Route 351, feeling his way along the road with a walking stick. People would go to the road at night to find him, and once the word got around, He would pose for photos, share a cigarette with people, or a beer, and most people were nice. The odd arsehole would be cruel to him by beating him or pissing in his beer bottle and giving it back to him, but he never let it deter him from his walks. He was even hit by a car a few times as well. Because of this man, the legends of scary ghosts have circulated from the people who couldn't see him on the road when they went out to try and find him, and they just put it down to an urban legend. He lived up until he was 74 years old and passed away in a nursing home in 1985. People say that Ray was an absolutely beautiful soul, and the reason he was called the Green Man was because one night he was wearing a green shirt and it reflected weirdly off someone's car lights, and it gave his skin a green tinge. So what do you think about all these urban legends? Yeah, it's interesting to actually learn the real facts of each of these urban legends. Now, the illustration that I decided to do for the video today was something a little bit more simple. I didn't want to go overboard with this one because the image that I got for this was to sort of like obviously combined all of the urban legends into one illustration. So what I ended up doing was doing like this rabbit hat that's come from like a real rabbit, so there's a bit of blood around the eyes because it's been skinned. So I also gave this creature like no nose and a wooden jaw to sort of represent the dummy, and also the strings coming down to sort of also replicate that sort of puppet sort of feel as well, so it's just like hanging from the ceiling. Also the Candyman's hook arm on the one side, which has got blood coming out or coming off of the hook, and then also the honeycomb holes to represent that as well, and also the hatchet for the bunny story is in there, along with obviously the hat as well. And then I just felt like I wanted to give some guts hanging down. There's also a stick up the center as well. As you can just see, there's a wooden stick between the guts hanging down to also portray the dummy. There's 4 elements in the illustration. The only thing that I couldn't really do was the Hoer Verde urban legend, because I had no idea how to do like a disappearance. So maybe when you sort of think about it, if he's on strings and this thing's hanging down onto a stage, maybe they just take him back up and he disappears. There you go. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. But anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you like these kind of videos with the urban legends and trying to guess if it's real or fake, let me know if you want me to do another one. So I will do another one if it gets enough requests. And also, if you like this content, like and subscribe. Dislike it, I really couldn't care less. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.